Go. Okay, here we go. So, wow, we've got a great turnout here. I really appreciate everybody coming. I've got people from U.S., Australia, Canada, all over the place. Geez, what time is it in Australia right now? What are they like? What are you guys? 15, 16 hours ahead of me here in Denver, Colorado. But I appreciate it, and hopefully, we're going to really give you some great information here that you can start using immediately to help your dental practices because. We all know that the dental industry is as competitive as maybe it has ever been. There's pressure just because a lot of kids coming out of dental school. There's also pressure from the corporate dental practices all throughout the U.S. for sure. I'm not as familiar, obviously, in Australia and Canada and some other countries, but certainly it's important to try to stand out from the pack and grow your practice. And I'm assuming that's why a lot of you are here today. So as you have questions, and I just said this, I'll say it again for the people that are just kind of coming in now. If you have questions, you've got a questions box down below in the GoToWebinar section, and you can ask questions whenever you need, and we'll answer those as we can. I'll answer some of them live on the broadcast here, and then my staff will be responding to some via text within the chat box as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Let me just minimize some things here. Okay, so a little bit about me, and I always like to start out with me, not because I have a huge ego or anything, but I think it's important for you to know that why you should maybe listen to me, just because I've got some experience. I want to make sure I'm not just another one of those people out there saying that they do all kinds of good stuff. I'm the president of Kickstart Dental Marketing. Now, maybe even the last webinar that we did, if you're a return visitor, we were iFuse Dental Marketing. Well, that changed. We kind of renamed ourselves just because we liked the name Kickstart. It sounds cool, and people couldn't understand our name or our email addresses when we gave it to them. It was hard to spell, so we fixed that. So iFuse Dental Marketing will forward just to kickstartdentalmarketing.com. It's actually kickstartdental.com is our new website. You can see it down below at the bottom of the PowerPoint presentation. But anyway, we started this back in 2009. And we actually started as we kind of did all kinds of marketing for all kinds of companies, not just dentists, but that's kind of how we got our start. I'm also an author. I wrote the book, The Ultimate Guide to Internet Marketing for Dentists. It is on Amazon for sale, and there's a couple of places you can find it. I think I've sold 3 copies. But anyway, hey, I wrote a book, right? I've been doing local marketing for a long time, 12 plus years. I've worked for maybe some of the most influential marketing companies in the world, where I learned a lot of stuff, a lot of great things and good experience of what you need to do. And unfortunately, I learned a lot of stuff that you shouldn't do. But I guess having both sides of that experience really helps us with our consulting work here at Kickstart. I was trained. I'm one of the few, actually, unless you're a Google employee, that's actually been trained by Google at their headquarters in Mountain View, California. We had the opportunity when I worked for another company to go actually, a select few of us I think we spent 10 days on the campus, and they trained us on pay-per-click and account management and some SEO stuff, especially local SEO. And that's really where I got hooked on this stuff. So it's a very cool place. If you ever get the chance to go visit, I strongly recommend that you do. I do have some certifications from them. You have to renew those every so often. But yes, I do have certifications from not just Google, but Yahoo and Bing as well. I just think that it probably makes sense to certify yourself wherever you can to at least have a piece of paper that shows people that you know what you're talking about. I do live in Denver, Colorado. I'm married to my wife, Michelle. I have 2 children, Brody, 6, and Caitlin, who's 11, but next month I think she turns 23 or 24. At least that's where the attitude level is now. So all's good here. We have 2 dogs as well. So that's just a little bit about me. So today I wanted to talk, if it's okay with all of you, about SEO specifically. Whenever we do these, typically we do different segments. I've done Facebook ads. I've done social media in general. I've done Google My Business in general, which kind of combines with SEO. But today's going to be about SEO, which is search engine optimization. And the first thing I want to talk about is, what is SEO? I'm sure most of you have heard about it. I want to talk about, is SEO right for your practice? Because guess what? Sometimes I talk people out of doing SEO. And there's not a lot of companies that do that, trust me. And if you do SEO, how much should you spend on it? Because I can tell you from experience, there's people that charge probably $50 to do it, and there's people that charge upwards of $15,000 a month to do it. So how much should you spend as a dental practice? How long does it take to do SEO? So how long do you have to spend this money before you start seeing results? How to ID SEO scams. This is a biggie, guys, and this is one of the reasons I picked this topic. There is more scammy, crappy stuff out there right now that you're probably being bombarded with, trying to get you to sign up for SEO. And honestly, I got to tell you, probably 70 to 80% of those that you get are scams, and it unfortunately hurts my industry. But we'll talk about that. I want to give you some questions to ask if you do hire an SEO firm. These are the top questions that I would ask, and it'll help you kind of pick the one that's going to be the best fit for you. I also want to give you some free tools that you can use starting today that can really help you with your online visibility and kind of help you spot check what's going right and what's going wrong. I know a lot of you probably don't have the time to do your own SEO work. That's kind of why I helped start this company. We don't just do SEO, but it certainly is an important thing that we do. But a lot of it's just time. You know, you guys are dentists. You have to run a dental practice. That takes plenty of your time, and it's not like you want to come home in the evening after working on teeth all day and sit down for 6 to 7 hours and do SEO work. So, however, if you're interested in it, and there are people that want to do it themselves, I do have some great tools that you can start using today to help you out with that. And at the end, just for being so patient and listening to me and putting up with me, I have a little special gift offer for you at the end. So if that's okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started with that agenda. Maybe if I know how to click. There we go. So let's do a quick poll. This kind of wakes everybody up for me. Make sure that people are paying attention. But I want to kind of get a gauge on what people are seeing out there and what they think. I'm going to launch a poll here. The question basically is, how valuable do you think it is to rank highly on search engines? Do you think it's very important, moderate, not at all, or you're really not sure? I'll wait for some people to put their votes in here. Looks like, wow, getting a good response. We're already at about 50% of you have responded. I'll give it just a couple more seconds here and see what we got going on here. Okay, wow, we're up to 70%, which is good for these, especially at the size of crowd that we have today. And we are at about 80% or so that say that it is very important, with nobody saying not sure. So obviously, kind of a dumb question, because if you didn't think it was important, you probably wouldn't be on the on the webinar. But this is some of you probably saw about this webinar off Dental Town, the online dental forum, and I posted this earlier today and got some somewhat interesting answers. But just making sure you're paying attention. So what is SEO? To do this properly, I'm going to go live here. I had an old trainer tell me never go live because things go wrong, especially with technology. So I'm going to forego his advice, and I'm actually going to go live. I'm going to go out here to Google, and we're going to talk about what is SEO. I know that you guys already have a really good feel for what it is, but there's some things that you may not know. So I'm going to do a search for dentist, Denver, Colorado. Pretty typical search, very local in nature, which most of yours are. Now, what we're looking at here is what we call in the industry a SERP, and that stands for Search Engine Results Page. This is critical. So at the top, some people don't realize this, or ignore it, but this shows that there are about 1.77 million results for that particular keyword. So in theory, there's about 1.7 million websites competing to be on the first page of Google for that particular keyword search. So extremely competitive. It also tells you how long it took for that search to come back. Google's kind of showing off a little bit. So I want to kind of break this down as questions are coming in. I get distracted, so I apologize. But these top three here are called Google AdWords, and they're pay-per-click ads. And you can see it's got the little orange ad next to it. And then all of these over here on the right, these are all paid ads as well. So when we talk about pay-per-click, or you get confronted about doing pay-per-click advertising on Google, that's what they're talking about. You basically buy your way here. It's you only are charged every time somebody clicks on the ad, Pay-per-click might actually be the next webinar that we do. It's definitely got enough content for it. It's not as easy as just saying, hey, I'm going to pay $500 this month, show my ad. You'd be surprised how many people have tried, dentists have tried Google pay-per-click and have failed at it. They spent a ton of money and didn't even get any results at it. Oh, I'm getting some of you telling me you can't even see my screen, so that's a problem. Hold on, I think I have to close the poll. I do. That's the problem. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks for giving me a heads up. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Just to recap very quickly, the top three here are pay-per-click ads on the very top. The ones over here on the right are pay-per-click ads as well. And that's what we were talking about, the Google AdWords section. So what we're going to talk about today is this center section. You can see we got 5280 magazine up here. And then we've got these local listings, which we'll talk about in a second. And then there's more regular, what we call regular organic listings down here. And you don't pay Google directly to be listed here, but oh man, I'm getting. Oh, you guys can't see the screen. You're only seeing the PowerPoint presentation. That's interesting. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. My apologies. Let's see what we got here. Oh, I see what I've done wrong. There we go. That should fix it. Geez, you think I'd do enough of these that I would have this figured out, but I don't, obviously. All right, so that should, let me know if you can see my screen. It should be on a Google search engine's results page right now. Just really quickly, let me make sure that that's what you can see. Okay, cool. Looks like we're good to go now. All right. Okay, yep, she says yes, he says yes. All right, we're good. All right, here we go. So one more time to recap. These are paid ads at the top. These are paid ads on the right. So that's all the Google AdWords stuff. What we're going to concentrate on today is this center section. This is the organic section of Google. This middle section is what we call Google My Business. And guys, this is a gold mine for dentists. It really is. If you can get ranked highly here, there's only 7 results that come back in this section at any given time. But when you can get ranked here, we've seen this increase new patient flow by over 30%, sometimes more, depending on what market you're in, just being ranked here, because local searchers really take an eyeball to this, because this literally is the new phone book, right? Because you got the name, address, the phone number, you got reviews, you can go to their website. When you highlight them like this, you can see, obviously you can see like a little mini page of them that shows up. And these are typically always at the top of the organic searches. So a lot of really good stuff going on here. So what we're going to talk about is how to not only get into this local section, but you also want to get into the regular organic section too. You really want to try to dominate a page if you possibly can. So that's what we're going to really be focusing on today. I do want to take one question here really quickly. One is, what's the best way to show up in the Google My Business section, which is this section right here. And I wish it were that simple, Tom. It's just not. When we do Google My Business rankings for folks, we literally have a checklist of 200 different things that we go through to help our clients rank here. And it's extremely competitive. I mean, there's only 7 out of 1.7 million that get here, right? Now, not all of these would fit into the Google section, the Google My Business section, because you have to be a local business with a local address to get in here. Typically, Lakewood you see is here, but they're a suburb, very close suburb of Denver, and they're probably doing something perhaps a little against the rules to be able to even get here. But that's okay. That's another topic. But there's a lot of things. What I can tell you, Tom, just really quickly, is a lot of it has to do with your website. And how well is your actual website optimized is a big ranking factor for Google My Business. Probably the second biggest factor in my experience are what we call citations in the industry. These are your business listings. These are listings out on like yellowpages.com, what's another, City Search, Yelp, places like that. There's literally hundreds of sites like this where you can have a free profile. You need to go out and make sure that your information, your what we call the NAP, name, address, phone number, is consistent on all of these different pages, because that is a big ranking factor as well. So I appreciate that question. But that's one of the biggest things that you want to look out for, certainly, for sure. Any other questions on that particular Google My Business section specifically? Got a few rolling in here. Let me see if, okay, we covered that one. Covered that one. Okay. So it looks like we got a majority of them answered as I'm just kind of scrolling through these. Just give me one more second to quickly go through this. Okay. Okay, so we should be good there. Sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling through these as well. Okay. Yeah, very cool. John is one question he rolled out. It said, I was ranking fine for my city in Toronto, and all of a sudden my rankings disappeared. What happened? Yeah, that happens. That's kind of the thing about Google. They have these algorithms out there on how you rank, these set of rules, if you will, on how you rank. And what happens is that they want all new, fresh content every once in a while. So they'll actually change those rules. They'll change the algorithm, and the rules of why these people were ranking the way they are change. And then it's up for agencies like us to figure it out and find out what's important to Google to get those rankings back. That's one reason. We haven't had a major algorithm change from Google in quite a while. The last local algorithm change was called Pigeon, but we haven't had a major one yet. Since then, it could be, and I'd have to look more specifically at your business in general, but it could be you have some sort of penalty from Google too. If you try to spam the system, or maybe you hired another SEO company that maybe wasn't following the rules of Google, you will get slapped pretty hard by Google, and all of a sudden you'll be ranking one day, and then the next day you're kind of gone. So that's another very big possibility as well. And if you need some help with that, it takes a little bit of digging, but I have no problem looking that up for you and seeing if you have been penalized. We have some tools that we used internally to try to help with that. So just let me know if you need some help with that. Okay, so let's move on here. So this is SEO. This is what we talk about is not the paid ads at the top or the right. What we really want to concentrate on is what's going on here in the center. The statistics on this stuff, I'll show you some stats here in a little bit, but one of the big statistics is about 70%, 65 to 70% of people will click on organic listings in the center well versus paid ads. I don't know about you guys. Maybe you can give me some feedback in the chat poll or the questions. But how many of you click on paid ads when you're looking for a local service? Do you ever click on them? I do sometimes, but I'm in the business, so I'm a little bit biased to that. But we'll see. Looks like some of you do click paid ads, but a lot of times they don't. So most of you, a good majority of you, are saying never click on paid ads. It's funny, guys, because Google's like this multi-billion-dollar corporation. 80% of their revenue comes from paid ads. But when I do these, like I'll do seminars like this, and I'll have maybe 100 dentists in a Holiday Inn somewhere, and I'll do a little poll like this, and nobody ever says that they click on paid ads. It makes you wonder, does Google have like a whole factory of monkeys just kind of clicking on ads? Are these things for real or what? But I will tell you that we do pay-per-click advertising for some of our dentists. We used it primarily in the beginning of a campaign to help offset. SEO takes some time, and we'll talk about that in a second. So we do try to do some paid ads in the beginning while we're getting those SEO rankings. So you are getting some traffic, you are getting some new patients out of it. It does work, there's no question, but you want to build a long-term marketing asset when you spend money. With pay-per-click, you're only as good as how much money you want to spend for that particular click. Right? So you're not building a long-term marketing asset. With SEO, we're putting principles and marketing philosophies in place that will have you, generate good rankings over time, but the principles in place that we do will help keep you ranking over time as well. And we'll talk a little bit more of that as well. So let me go back to the PowerPoint presentation here, if I can do that without completely screwing things up. Let me go back here and somebody tell me if I'm doing the right stuff here, but we should be back to the PowerPoint presentation. Let's go into the next page. So is SEO right for your practice? This is a big one. Most SEO companies or marketing companies will tell you yes, and these statistics that you're looking at right now will tell you yes. But there is some caveats to this, and a couple of these are legitimate statistics. And guys, I get probably 90% of the time when we do marketing campaigns for dentists, we do include SEO. But there are some times where it doesn't make sense. However, it's important to know the statistics so that you can help make an informed decision with you and your marketing company. These are legit statistics. Most of them come from BIA Kelsey, which, if you haven't heard of them, they're a major marketing organization with no real ties to any one type of platform or medium. But 97% of consumers that use the internet use it when searching for local products and services. Guys, that's your bread and butter. You are local products and services, big time. 93% of people of online research starts with a search engine. There's no, no. I thought that would actually be higher because we're talking about. See if you go buy a TV. I just did this not long ago. I bought a 65-inch TV for my basement. The first thing I did when I went to these stores is I pulled out my smartphone and I started looking up reviews for all these products, right? Well, you're not particularly selling TVs, right? You're selling solutions to problems, mostly dental problems. But I can tell you that people are paying attention to what you do online. They're not just looking at your website. They're looking at reviews that patients leave for you. Reputation's another webinar we're going to do. But if you guys use Demand Force or Lighthouse, or there's a few other companies that help you collect reviews, that service alone isn't good enough, guys. It's not, because those reviews, it's great to see those, and it's great to have them go out onto your website and onto your Facebook page. And I know that they go onto a little page that's owned by Demand Force or Lighthouse, but that's not good enough. You've got to get those reviews out to where it matters the most, and that's the individual third-party sites like Google and Yelp and City Search. Up in Canada, I know YP is big. That's where they need to go, and those services aren't doing that. So that's a topic for another conversation, or if you have issues with your reputation, let me know. I'll be more than happy to give you some advice on that. Now, here's another one. There'll be over 140 billion local intent searches in 2015. So that means that local is a huge part of what Google's doing, and that's why when we looked at that search engine results page, that's why their local section, the Google My Business section, is right on top. Because they are getting so many local intent searches. We're still on the what is SEO slide. Is that right for everybody? Is everybody getting that? Why am I having such a hard time figuring this out today? Can everybody see the search engine stats page? Some are yes. Okay. It's kind of half and half. What is going on here? I'm at that. What? Okay. All right. Hold on. Let me figure this out. I tell you, I'm losing my mind, guys. I do this for a living. You couldn't even imagine, huh? All right. You're on the what is it? Let me check this out here. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes GoToWebinar actually makes this a little bit more difficult. But let's see what's going on here. Okay, you should be on a page that shows search engine stats. Could you guys be so helpful and let me know if you see that now, please? All right, cool. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. It's being a little finicky. I'm going to blame it on GoToWebinar, so let's go with that. So these are the stats that I was talking about. 97, 93, 140 billion. And here's the big one, and I think everybody knew this one, but 98% of searchers choose a business that is on the first page of a search engine. Nobody goes past the second page. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't happen. It's just a big, you just got to be on the first page. And, I think there's 14 total spots available in the organic search area out of, as we saw in that last search engine results page, 1.7 million websites trying to be there. So anyway, all this data suggests that, yeah, it's worth it. And it is worth for dentists most of the time. However, there are some caveats that you need to know about. You do have to consider other things. What's the cost going to be? Right? How much is SEO going to cost? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in the next section, like what should it cost? But guys, if it's going to cost so much money for you to become on the first page of Google, it all becomes about return on investment. How many new patients do you have to bring in for that to make sense, right? So there are some areas where I talk people out of it. Very populated areas, and this goes into market and competition as well, which you see on the list. If you're in a huge market with tons of competition, guys, I'm going to charge you a lot of money to get there because it's going to take a lot of man hours for us to get you there. And I may say it's just not worth it. And here's why. And here's another way that I think we should do it. And maybe it's a paid route. Maybe we focus on organic search on Bing or Yahoo, which is ignored almost too often. But there's other avenues to do that. I just don't. There's just some situations where it doesn't make sense. Also, what are your goals? I mean, what do you want to do? And this should really be the first question on the list. I mean, what do you want to achieve out of this? We're going to talk about red flags with SEO and how to avoid scams in a few slides. But if somebody's just talking to you and pushing SEO, 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 and they don't ask you about your goals or what you want to achieve out of this, that's a huge red flag, right? Because I've got a pediatric dentist in Indiana, and he does really well. He doesn't really need to see a flood of new patients. He's 6+ weeks out, but he does still want to do marketing because it makes sense for him to be visible. Because maybe it's not always that great, right? So we're really focusing on a campaign that brings in that right kind of patient, not the one that's maybe on Medicaid, right? Although there's a lot of dentists that we represent that do take Medicaid cases, there are some like cosmetic dentists that wants to get as many no insurance cases as they can. And a lot of you probably right now are nodding your head, yes, no kidding, Chris, duh. But you'd be surprised. Everybody's a little bit different in terms of what their goals are. What do you specialize in? Are you a pediatric dentist? Well, if you're a pediatric dentist, you have a specialty and there's not as much competition typically. So sometimes that's a good thing. Or if you're a cosmetic dentist and a general dentist, maybe you just want to focus on teeth whitening to kind of try to bring people in, and then you can upsell them into other things that are wrong with their oral hygiene. And current rankings, I mean, if you're on the first page now, and you're gonna have to spend all this money with me or some other SEO company just to come up a couple of spots, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe you're kind of maxed out at your potential. So we look at these things and a lot of other things to really determine if SEO is right for you. So I'm not going to always say that it is right. It's just not the case all the time. Again, we take probably 90% of the folks that we do take on. It does help out quite a bit, but certainly it's not always the case. So let's keep moving on. How much should? Oh wait, I had a question. A few questions here that I didn't see. Sorry. One question from Thomas is, how can I beat out my competition in SEO? And that's a good question. It's just not an easy question to answer quickly, unfortunately. We've got some pretty cool tools here that analyze your competition for you. In fact, I'm going to give you a free tool that's going to help you do this too. But it analyzes your competitors' websites and it gives us kind of like the top 10, if you will, list of reasons why they probably rank there. And then we look at your website and we run the same test. And it really comes down to outworking them, just like with anything that's worth doing. If you work hard at it, you're smarter, you fail faster, you're going to outrank your competition most of the time. So good question. Okay, so how much should you spend on SEO? I get this a lot. Can you imagine? It's just not that simple. I'm not giving you simple answers to anything, and that's just the way it is. But there are a few factors that we use to do our SEO pricing. And you're going to see that link at the bottom. It's a great article from Forbes magazine. I love to use Forbes and Entrepreneur magazine because they're completely unbiased. They could care less if you buy SEO or if you don't, but they give good hard facts. So I will put that in the chat box here in a second, and you can actually click on it and go to it or save it and do whatever you do. But I definitely suggest that you read it. But it depends on the size and number of markets you want to cover. So if you're in Denver, okay, I just want to cover Denver proper, or I want to cover the suburbs as well. That's more man hours to do that, more content we have to build out, more stuff we have to do on your website, so your price goes up. How competitive is your market? Is it Denver, or is it Grand Junction, Colorado, which is a city of maybe 50,000 people in Colorado? Maybe there's more than that. I don't know. But if there's less people, that means there's less competition, which means that it's going to make it easier for you to rank. What kind of condition is your website in? Is a big one too. If you've got a website and it's really bad, guys, that's a big factor in SEO. And if we have to redo a lot of things, or if we have to redo your website sometimes, that's going to take more time and it's going to increase the price. Do you have any Google penalties? This is a biggie. I mean, there's a lot of SEO companies out there that do, quite frankly, crap work, and they get a lot of dentists in trouble and they get quick rankings. But then all of a sudden, Google catches up to them and says, hey, you're doing this the wrong way. You're spamming us. Here's your slap, and you're on like page 45. And so we have to recover you from that. We have to fix everything that they've done. Maybe it's backlinks, maybe it's spammy Google profiles, whatever it may be. We have to do all that work, and then we have to say, hey, Google, look at us again. Sorry, we messed up, but could you rank us? And that takes time, and therefore it takes money. And how are your citations? We talked a little bit about citations. That's these business directories, right? Like on Yelp and City Search and the 500 others. Are they in good condition? Do their name, address, and phone numbers match everywhere? And here's the scary thing. There's no real automated way to do that. It's literally, we have a team of people that do nothing but citations, and they go in and manually delete duplicates. They go in and fix the ones that have old addresses, old phone numbers, and name isn't right. It's a very, very tedious process, but it has to happen for local SEO to work correctly. So we take all of those things into consideration. The other thing is, obviously, I don't have it listed here, but how many locations do you have? We've got locations on the East Coast that have 5+ practices. We've got one here in Denver that has 3 practices. It makes SEO more complicated, but it also, it takes that much more work to do. So that's going to drive your pricing as well. So, I always tell people, and this is like in the slides coming up, it's really kind of a red flag for me, certainly, when I see an SEO company says, hey, it's, $599 a month. I don't care who you are, where you are, or what you're doing. That's a red flag, guys, because there's a problem with that, because to me, somebody's cutting corners somewhere to be able to say a one price fits all, or they have a gold, bronze, and silver package. It just doesn't work like that, and that should be a red flag for you guys as you shop for this stuff. We price, the way that we set our stuff up, for whatever it's worth, is that we do price based on an hourly rate. That's it. That's your hourly rate. And then we do an assessment, and then we say, okay, we think it'll take this many hours per month to get this client rankings that they want to be able to get X amount of patients out of it. We've got kind of a formula, if you will. And then that's what we bill you. And then we report back to you on, okay, let's say you got 8 hours for the month, right? You see exactly what work was completed in those 8 hours, so that there's no guessing games. So that's how we do it. I know there's lots of other really good SEO companies out there that do things differently, and that's awesome, but that's just kind of how we do our stuff. And then here, let me paste this article into the chat box for you guys. Excuse me. There you go. That's a link to that Forbes magazine article. It's really good. I think you'll like it. Okay, let's move on. How long does SEO take? Another big question with another complicated answer. Sorry about that, but that's the way it goes sometimes. This, again, depends on a number of things, and these things are very similar to what we just saw in the previous slide. How much work is needed on your website? I mean, how much stuff do we have to correct in order to get you to where you need to be? Do you have any penalties? How's your competition? How's your market size? These things all factor into how long this stuff actually takes. Typically, though, we try to tell our clients, unless there's circumstances that are really bad or really good, It's going to take 3 months minimum to see some positive momentum. So that means when our client success manager talks to our clients on a weekly or monthly basis, whatever it is, um, we say, okay, here are the keywords that we're going for because they have the most popularity, it'll get you most traffic. Here's your ranking when you started with us. Now here's your ranking month over month or week over week. And you should start to see positive momentum in the first 3 months. Now, guys, to be honest, I've seen positive momentum in less than a month. I've seen it happen in a week. In fact, we took on a client, and Doctor may be on tonight. I haven't looked through everybody, but um, it was a dental practice out in New Jersey. He's still with us today. And within 7 days, we got him some first page rankings. That is not typical, not at all. We just kind of got lucky and we did the right things at the right time. But I've seen some practices in competitive markets, they don't really start seeing positive momentum until 6 months. So and we're very honest and open with that before we start any work. You need to have at least some sort of an expectation of how long it will take. Um, Also, what's interesting, and we'll talk about this more in shopping for SEO companies, but some dental practices need ongoing work, meaning you do need to pay a monthly fee for quite a while to really get you where you need to be. Others just need a short time boost. So typically what we do is we will put our dental practices on a maintenance practice or maintenance campaign after we really are achieving the results that we want. And it drops the price down dramatically, but it keeps your rankings where they need to be. So I talk about SEO kind of like going on a diet. If you eat really well and you work out all the time, you're going to start losing weight, right? Well, if you do all the right work and all the right times and all the right places, you're going to start gaining momentum and getting rankings in Google. But if you quit the diet and you start eating like crap and drinking beer and stuff like that, you're going to gain the weight back. Well, if you stop doing the work on SEO, you're going to start losing rankings because your competition is going to catch up to you. So we're one of the few agencies that will actually do maintenance packages, drop the bill dramatically, keep you where you need to be. And if you need another boost, then we can always go back to that initial work to get it going. So that's how we do things. This is another article I'm going to copy and paste. This is my favorite article ever. It does an awesome job of talking about how long SEO takes. And I really want you guys all to read that because I know you're interested in this. And that guy does a great job of explaining it. I've got a lot of questions coming in here. I'm going to just pick out a couple here. I'll just pick out one here. This is from Taylor. Taylor, thanks for joining us. How do you get an accurate organic search result? Assuming you visit your site often, cookies present, Google knows you like our, okay, yeah. So Taylor, sounds like you obviously know a little bit about SEO. And not that I need to probably, but to put this question more in layman's terms, how do you always know where your website is ranking? How do you get an accurate assessment of where you rank? Because if you go to your site more, in Google's eyes, it may change the organic rankings. And you may not always get an accurate statement. And to back this up, I was speaking with a dentist just the other day. He's like, well, I rank, on the first page for almost everything. And he was typing in like dentist or his name or something like that. And he was ranking for him because he had cookies on his computer and they kind of remembered his search history. But when I did a search or when I had one of my tools do the search, he was nowhere to be found. So that is something you need to get through. What I do, Taylor, is if I don't have access to all the cool tools that we have, I will actually make sure you clear your browser history. If it's Chrome, you just go into Tools, Web History, and clear Web History. Explorer has something like that too. Once you do that and then do another search and make sure if you have a Google account, you're logged out of that Google account. If you do all of that, that should give you true results. But I got to tell you, SEO is getting harder and harder to do this because I don't want to get too in the weeds, but a lot of clients or Google has a lot of different data centers, and it depends where you're searching out of the data center to get those results. But we have pretty cool tools that allow us to get those accurate results. So I hope that answers your question. Okay. So I gave you the article. Let's go to the next slide here. Hold on, I'm going to take a drink really quick. Give me 1 second. Okay. So, how to ID SEO scams. And this is where we're going to do our second poll. Hopefully, this one's a little more interesting. I just realized how stupid my first one was, but let's look at the second one. All right. So, what I'm going to ask is how many calls and emails do you get a week that you know of anyway? That's asking you to buy SEO from them. Do you get 10 or more a week? Do you get 5 or more a week? Do you get just a few, or do you not get any at all? These are people trying to sell you SEO type services. Let me wait for some results to come in here. And it could be phone calls or it could be emails or, however. Wow. That's worse than I thought. All right. Looks like we got about 70% of the people have voted. So 70% of people are getting 5+ calls or emails a week trying to sell them SEO services, and 33% are getting just a few. So yeah, it's the market's bombarded right now with SEO companies, and unfortunately, a lot of those are scam artists trying to take your money. So it's just interesting to see how that works out. All right, cool. So how to ID these scams? It's the old adage or whatever you want to call it. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. That's just the way it is. You would think that this hurts our industry, and it does from a reputation standpoint, but it helps businesses like mine because a lot of the people that we get on board with us are people that got ripped off or they got penalized because they went with a company. That did the wrong things and got them penalized, things like that. So unfortunately, a lot of what we do is cleanup work. Hopefully that's not the case for you guys. But that's a big part of what we do, unfortunately. I don't like what the industry has come to because I own a marketing company that does SEO, and I get these sales pitches all the time. They call me, they email me. These are just auto emails going out, just trying to rip you off. In most cases, a lot of these are from third world countries. They're scams, and they're nothing more than that. So it's hard for you guys to figure that out. So what I want to do is kind of spend the next couple of slides of trying to educate a little bit on what I would do, what I would ask, and what you need to look for. Number one is very, very cheap pricing. Anything less than $500 for a dental practice and even a small market, that's a red flag, guys. You're not going to get the results you want. What they're probably going to do is submit you to some business directories, maybe change your website a little bit, and then they'll just quit working on it. I know that the pricing looks good and, they promise results, which is another red flag. But guys, if it's under $500, it's not worth it. It's just not. If they want to do a one-time charge, that's another red flag. That's no good. It just doesn't work like that. If they want money up front, hang up the phone. They should never ask for money up front. Sometimes we'll do a setup fee. That's just a few $100, but it's if they say, okay, well, it's going to be $500 a month for 6 months. Please give us the money up front. Hang up the phone. They talk a lot about link building. This is where a lot of people get in trouble. Link building can get you in a lot of trouble if you don't do it correctly. Okay. Link building's still a good thing to do, but you have to do it correctly. And if you don't and you do it incorrectly, then you're going to get slapped by Google. It's not as easy as it used to be, where you go out and just get as many backlinks as you can to your website, and you win the popularity contest. You still need those backlinks, but they need to be from credible local sources. Okay, and that's really a topic for a whole webinar on its own as well. Says they're with Google or knows somebody there. This is a biggie going around right now. A lot of front desks are getting hammered by, we're with Google, you need to update your listing or something like that. Google is not going to call you to talk about SEO. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And there's about a 1% chance that they're going to call you and talk to you about pay-per-click. The people that call and say they're with Google most likely are not. So do not fall for that scam. They offer free or trial services. This used to be popular. It's not so much anymore, but they'll say, you know what, we'll work for free for the first month and we promise we'll get you ranked on the first page of Google. Well, and they do sometimes. They actually get you ranked for a keyword that nobody will ever type in, like cosmetic dentist that does dentures in Fremont, California, 60253, right? That, yeah, I can get somebody ranked for that probably within 24 hours, but nobody searches for it. So it's not like they're going to do any, you're not going to get any business out of it, right? You need to go after the hardcore keywords like cosmetic dentist in Fremont, right? Or cosmetic dentist in Denver, Colorado. Those are the real thriving keywords that you need to go after. So don't fall for any of the free trial services. They talk about submissions to directories and search engines. They say, yeah, our $500 or $400 will get you ranked on the first page of Google. We'll submit you to 1,000 different search engines and directories. That's not going to do it, guys. That's part of SEO, and that's something that you should do if you do it correctly, but it's one of about 200 things that you should do. So just that alone is not going to help. And there's a lot of companies out there, like the big companies, the big dental marketing companies. I'm not going to name specifics, but they have low SEO packages that usually go with websites. And this is what they're doing. They're basically just submitting your website to directories and search engines, and it's just not enough to get results that you need. They promise fast rankings. You can't do it. You just cannot. And then the next one after the next is they guarantee results. Those kind of go hand in hand. Fast rankings is a red flag to me. It tells me that they're probably going to do something spammy to trick Google. And yeah, they might get results pretty quickly, but I guarantee you long term, you are going to get slapped and it's going to be hard to get out of that and it's going to be costly. So fast rankings is always a red flag for me. They want to lease you a website. I don't know if you've had this happen before, but they'll say, hey, I've already built this site. It's already ranking on the first page of Google, and I'll lease it to you for $500 a month. Well, remember we talked about long-term marketing assets? That's kind of what we're talking about here. And they really want people to buy from them that don't pay attention. Because, yeah, maybe they do rank well, but maybe they spam the system to get there, and they're only going to be there a brief time. And you say, okay, well, cool, I'll do it. You pay $500 a month and you kind of forget about it. And by the time you go to check again, they've been penalized and they're on page 50. And you've already spent maybe 6 months worth of money thinking you had first page rankings for all these great keywords. So you want to own your assets. Don't lease. Own your own marketing assets. In the long term, it's going to really pay off for you. Guarantee results. You can't guarantee search engine results. It's not your world. It's Google's. All you can do is play by their rules and do the things, ethical things that are going to make a difference. Long-term contracts. This is a big one too. Yellow page companies are bad about this. I think even YP.com does this. Maybe not just with SEO, but really with any internet marketing we're talking about. You shouldn't have to sign a long-term contract, guys. The people that want you to sign long-term contracts, to me, are saying, I'm not sure that I can do any good for you, but I definitely want to get your money for a year, so sign here, right? Every SEO company is a little bit different with this, and we've changed our policy a couple of times. Currently, we don't do contracts. And in fact, after 30 days, if you're not happy, we'll actually give you 120% back of the money that you spent with us. Not that we're going to get you results in 30 days every time, but if we're not a good fit, if you don't like the way we're doing things or communicating, I don't want you to have to be out money. I feel as though, and one of the reasons we started this company was because we came from these big companies that locked people into these contracts, and we knew exactly why they were doing it. We feel as though if we're not pulling our weight and we're not giving you a return on your investment, then why would you want to be with us? We're not going to hold people to a contract. So that's a big red flag for me. All right, I know we're getting down to about 9 minutes left, so I want to, we're almost done here, and I want to make sure we have some time for some questions if any pop up. Some questions to ask. So you're shopping around, what should you ask these people, right? And this isn't a foolproof system because people lie, unfortunately, and they can tell you things that you want to hear. It's part of sales. It's part of this industry, unfortunately. I don't like it, but if you ask these questions and they can back this stuff up, and you get good positive answers to these, then you're probably in a pretty good spot and you're with somebody that can really take care of you. But here are some questions. Can you provide some clients that I can talk to about their results? Don't let them just show you some results that they've gotten for clients. That's not good enough. You want to be able to pick up the phone and actually talk to another dentist who's used them for at least a month, and they can validate and say, yes, we did get good results from them. They are good communicators, things like that. How will you improve my rankings? What kind of work are they going to do it? I can promise you there are not many agencies out there that are going to actually show you the specific work that they're doing. And they don't all have to do that, but you need to know, and you do have some responsibility here to make sure they're doing the things that they're supposed to. Do you have experience with local SEO? There's a lot of companies out there that just do SEO in general. They do like national campaigns and try to get people ranked all over the country or all over the world. Well, that's not going to help you as a dental practice, because local SEO is a way different ballgame than national SEO is. So make sure they've got local clients and, if all possible, dental clients. We only specialize with dentists, but we're kind of unique in that. And you don't have to specialize in dentistry for SEO to get good results. It helps, but look at some other local businesses that they've gotten results for. Will you show me details on all of the work that you've done? So will they show you everything that they've done on your campaign? What kind of reporting do we get? This is kind of a broad subject too. Some people will just say, here's how much website traffic you got. Hooray, we're the greatest. Well, trust me, that doesn't tell you anything. So you really want detailed reporting. You want a dedicated point of contact that can go over this reporting with you, because if you sent me a patient's chart, I'm not going to know what it says. And if I sent you a really detailed SEO marketing report, you're probably not going to understand a lot of it either. So you need somebody that you can kind of go over that with, at least for the first couple of times, so you know what's going on. How do you measure the success of the SEO campaign? Is it good enough just to get good rankings? Not for me, because it's great if I get you on the first page of Google, but if that's not leading to new patients, then is it really worth it? No, I don't think so. Maybe there's something going on with your website that people don't like. Why aren't we converting more clicks into new patients? So you need a company that can work with you on that. How will we communicate? How often? Do we have to sign a contract? What keywords? This is a big one, guys. Don't let them control what keywords to go after. They're going to say, well, we know what keywords to go after. Wink, wink. Well, no, this isn't brain surgery, guys. You know what the common ones are. And I'm going to give you a tool in a second that's going to let you see a keyword tool that kind of shows you keywords that are popular and what people are using. But if you're a general dentist, you want to go after dentist, your city and state, cosmetic dentist, city and state, family dentist, best dentist. What else? Pediatric dentist, kids dentist, children's dentist. Teeth whitening. Those are like the big popular keywords that you really want to try to drive after. When should I start seeing results? Legitimate question. And what happens if we leave you? This is kind of tricky too, because some SEO companies will actually create content for your website. In fact, that's a good green flag to have if they're doing that. But make sure that you know who owns that asset. Is it you? Can they take down your website if they leave you? I've heard some nightmares on this stuff. So use these questions. They really will help you interview those SEO companies, and will put you kind of ahead of the competition and shopping for this stuff. Some free tools. We're almost done here, guys. Appreciate everybody hanging around. Everybody's really attentive and asking good questions. I know I haven't answered 20% of the questions that have come through, but we will do our best to follow up with those. Here's some great tools for you guys. A couple of them are mine. I pitch myself a little bit, I guess, but we do have a couple of really cool tools on our websites. I'm going to put these into the chat box for you, just so you have a quick link to them if you do want to use them. This first one's cool. Check it out if you can. This is an SEO report card, and it actually it shows some of your rankings. It shows good things, bad things that's going on with your website. It's kind of a comprehensive report, and it gives you kind of like a number score, an overall score. It's kind of interesting. This one is our business listing scanner. So I told you about those citations and those business listings and how it's important to have them all accurate and correct. This one will actually scan your listings and some of the top directories, and it will kick back a report that shows you how they're all listed. This third one, duplicate content is bad on your website. You shouldn't be using the same content that 100 other websites have on it. Copyscape, you can actually put your website in there and it will track page by page if you have duplicated content, and it'll actually show you where the content is duplicated. So that's a good one. And then lastly, this keyword tool is a good one. So you can see, how people are searching in your area. That's kind of where we start with our campaigns. If we don't get the keywords right, the rest of the campaign probably isn't going to do very well, right? So those are some cool tools. If you want some more, email me. I got 100 of these things. I've played with them all, and I know which ones are good and which ones aren't. So I'll be more than happy to help you out. And I got to give myself a little pitch, right? I mean, come on, right? You feel sorry for me, don't you? Anyway, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Kickstart just really quickly. Founded in 2009. We're talking about SEO today, but we are a full-service ad agency focused on the dental industry. We do Facebook ads, we do SEO, we do website design, we do pay-per-click, live chat, which is awesome right now, by the way. Live chat, we're seeing like a 20% higher conversion rate. Ask me about it. Well, that's probably another webinar. Some email marketing. I don't do as much email stuff because a lot of the demand force and Lighthouse stuff takes care of a lot of that. And reputation's a huge one. We get those reviews in the places where they actually do work for you on Google and all the good places. Specialize in helping practices grow. We take on other cases as well, of like cleanup cases, whatnot. But a biggie for us is helping those new patient counts. We're small but mighty. We are just a team of 7. We're what you would consider a boutique agency, but we're very powerful. We have huge efficiency when it comes to working on campaigns, but we never take on more than 1 client in each market. So if we already have a general dentist in Buffalo, we're not going to take another one on. That's just the way it works. Conflict of interest mostly. So we don't take on hundreds of clients. We take on less than 100 of clients at any given time. So we do everything by hand. There's not really any automation that goes on, and we get rock star results. Our offices are just south of Denver, about 20 miles in Parker, Colorado. And that's that. That's my pitch. See, it wasn't so bad, was it? So lastly, I do want to give you guys something. Again, not being egotistical, but I did write that book that we talked about. It is on Amazon. You're looking at it right here. I think, what is it going for now? Like 14 or 15 bucks, a little cheaper if you're a Amazon Prime customer, but I'm going to give it to you free. Here's the link. Just fill that out. Don't worry, I'm not going to spam you to death. I may just let you know of another webinar that's coming up maybe. But fill that out, and we'll send you an electronic copy immediately of it. And if you want a hard copy, I can send that to you as well. So appreciate the time you spent with us. And if you do want that book, it's about 150 pages. It's my first book I've written, so don't be too harsh on me when you go through it. There is a lot of really good stuff in it, and it covers all kinds of marketing for dentists, not just SEO. It's got some really good ideas in it that you might be able to use, I think. And that's that. This is my contact information. This is direct information. This is my cell phone, my office number, my email address. I am up. I do give free 30-minute consultations. It's very in-depth. It's stuff that other agencies typically will charge a lot of money for because we go in really deep on what we think it would take to get you where you need to be. And if we are the agency for you, great. And if not, that's fine too. We're not pressure salespeople here. But if you have questions, if you want to do that consult, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to get that scheduled. Let me go through a couple of questions here real quick before we're done. I know we're right at the deadline now. I have a brand new website. Will that affect my rankings and how long it'll take? If you could type in there real quick for me, Amber, is it a new business or just a new website of an existing business? Oh, she's typing. Okay, so it's a brand new practice, a brand new website. Yes and no. It depends where you are. If you're in LA, then you're a cosmetic dentist, then you're probably going to be a candidate that's not going to do SEO. It's just going to cost you a lot of money, and honestly, I'm not sure I can get you a return even within the first year. A lot of that will have to do with it's a brand new website. One ranking factor of the 200 that I talked to you about on our checklist is we always look to see how old that domain name is and what the health of it is. If it's a brand new domain, then Google sees that a little bit differently than others. So you do have to build up some credibility with them. You have to build up some reputation with them before you can really start seeing some ranking. But that's a good question. If you're in a smaller market, it's not a big deal, though. Let's see what else we have here. some of these. Okay, here's one from Janet. Okay, this is a great question. She says they have 4 practices. They're all on one website now. Is that good or bad? So they have 4 different locations, and they're all sharing one website. All right, this is big and tricky. So hold on. Yes and no. My personal preference is to have a website for each location. Okay, it's cleaner that way. Each business has its own URL, each business has its own optimization, it has its own business listings, but that's more work and it will be more expensive. I have been able to get sites ranked that have multiple locations on one domain or one website. You have to know how to do that though. Really need to build out a page for each location, okay, with at least 500 words of content on it and a lot of local information about that specific office. Okay, this is seriously a topic that we could talk about for an hour, but that is the biggest tip I would say. If it were me, if it were my practice, I'd build them out individually. If I had to do it one website, I'd make sure each location has its own page on the website with tons of really good content about that local market. Okay, give me a call if you want some more on that. I've got some cool documents on that too. A lot of articles have been written about that, so that's a great question. What is our hourly rate? Good question. If you read that article I sent out, it shows pricing anywhere between $750, or I'm sorry, $75 an hour and $500 an hour. We charge right now $150 an hour is our hourly rate. But as you know, everything's negotiable and it kind of depends on your situation and other things. So we try to be a competitive agency. We're not going to be the Walmart of SEO companies in terms of price. We don't want to be the cheapest because we know we can't do as good a job for you. But there's also a limit of, we know that it's got to return money for you. And if it doesn't, then what's the point of doing it? So if you're interested, just let us know and we're more than happy to work up a quote for you. One more question here I'll take. Let's see. What's a good one here? Okay, here's one. I'm getting ready to buy a practice, but they don't currently have a website. What do you recommend? Wow. It's crazy. There's still about 30% of dental practices out there that don't have a website. Isn't that crazy to think? But it's true. Tanya, I build a website. That's the first thing you need to do. Don't skimp on it. Don't try to build it yourself. Don't try to use a free tool to build it. Pay the one-time fee. Have it done professionally. Have it done correctly. It'll pay off long term. You get what you pay for. It's the old adage, and it's true with websites. We're first and foremost a marketing company. We're not a website building company specifically, but we build a lot of websites because there's a lot of horrible ones out there, quite frankly. But we don't typically, when people do marketing packages with us, we make them a screaming good deal on their websites. So if it's something you're looking at doing, let me know. But websites typically, if you just build a website, a good one like on WordPress, you're looking north of $3,000, $3,500 probably. If you did a marketing package with us and a website, we'd probably charge you half of that to build the website. And it would be a rocking website that you would love and be wanting to show off, and it would rank great. So, all right, I'm lied. I'm going to do one more question. Let's see here. Let me go through this. Let's see here. Okay, here's a good question. I get this a lot, and you dental town guys probably already know the answer to this. But should I get bombarded by Yext to do advertising with, or not Yext, I'm sorry, Yelp to do advertising with them? Should I do it? We have ran about 15 campaigns with Yelp, paid campaigns with them. And honestly, not in one of those campaigns have we seen a return on investment. We track everything. We use a special call tracking phone number with them and with a lot of stuff that we do. And we can track how many phone calls we get. We listen to the phone calls. We know exactly how many new patients we're getting out of it. And we have yet to have one campaign actually turn a profit using them. They like the long-term contracts. I don't personally like them as a company because of their business practices. With reviews, there's a lot of stuff going on in the news about them, a lot of lawsuits. My recommendation is stay away from them. I've just seen too much money wasted and not really get a good return on it. So I hope that helps. Any good tips to update your website on your own to boost SEO? Yeah, I've got a lot. I guess, Taylor, if I had to say one thing perhaps, or two, I'll say two things, is make sure your title tags in your website are really good and accurate and unique. Every page on your website has a different title, or it should have a different title, and it should include a keyword, your city, state, and phone number. So make sure that your title tags are unique and good and relevant. And then probably the number two thing is make sure those citations are in order. Make sure you got tons of those business listings out there and make sure that they're accurate, the name, address, and phone number. I know it seems crazy that you'd have to do that for Google rankings, but if you Google this stuff, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's a big deal. So those would probably be the couple of biggest things that I would do. Okay, guys, I'm out of time here. If you have questions, you got my email address here. Seriously, I don't care if you become a paying client or not. If you have questions, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you out. I totally follow the pay it forward guidelines. I think if I can give as much help as I can, that that'll come back and help us in the long term. So please hit me with these questions. I'll be more than happy to get back to you as soon as I possibly can and help you guys out. And if you are to the point where you do need some help, I'd love to help you out too. So I appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys. I see a bunch of you that have been on these webinars over and over. I really appreciate the following and the kind words that you send us afterwards. So if you have any questions, let me know. And other than that, have a great night, and we'll see you for the next one. Hey, Kyle, if you're still on, I'm actually here. I saw your question. I know a lot of people are logging off right now. So while I've got you here, instead of typing an answer here, I'm just answering your question. You were asking what is the significance of companies telling you that they are Google AdWords certified partners? Well, it is significant for Google AdWords, the paid ads, no question. Unfortunately, we see this a lot. People say they are AdWords certified partners when they really aren't. Most people won't check to see if they are. We're AdWords certified as well, but we're legitimate. We actually passed the test and did it. So it is significant if you're doing pay-per-click, but it really has zero bearing on SEO stuff. It's just only the pay-per-click certification. They have a few different exams. They have account management, AdWord. I can't think of them all right now, but if you're doing pay-per-click, it's very good to be a certified partner, but it doesn't have any bearing on SEO. So I hope that helps you out. If anybody, there's still a bunch of people on here. I'll be more than willing to take on some more questions if you guys want to ask them. Taylor, phone number and title tag. Yes. Yeah, I kind of let that one slip. That's one of our little secret sauce things. Most people don't do that, but it does seem to help a lot. Google likes to see the phone number in the title tag. So yeah, I know it seems a little weird, but I would try to get the city, the state, the phone number, and your business name and your number one keyword on the home page. And then as you do more pages, like your services page, like let's say you have a page for cosmetic dentist, you want to put the cosmetic dentist and then city, state, zip, phone number. Hopefully that helps. I see some people actually just logging in for the first time for the whole webinar. Sorry, guys, we actually are finishing this up. I'm just answering some last minute questions as we're winding down the meeting. I have recorded this and I will put it on my website. Sorry if you got the wrong time or whatnot, but it will be on kickstartdental.com under the training section. I'm just answering some questions as they come in right now. So you're more than welcome to hang on as I answer these questions, or you can just wait for the recording. It should be up by tomorrow. Hey Kyle, you said Yelp doesn't seem to have a good return on investment. Have you found any other companies that do see better return? Yeah, we're having a lot of good luck right now with Facebook ads. Google paid ads typically work pretty well. Those are probably the two biggest. For Google, it really depends more what market you're in, because if you're in a larger market, it's going to be a higher cost per click. But if you know what you're doing with Google AdWords, 9 out of 10 times you can make money off of it. Just make sure that you're using the right keywords. Make sure that you're using a lot of negative keywords, and make sure your ads are rock star quality. But those would be, if I owned a practice right now and I was going to do paid advertising online, it would be with Facebook and Google. And probably sitting on the bench would be Yahoo and Bing. They don't get as much traffic, but it's cheaper, and there are still people that use them as a search engine. Let's see. Hey, Tom, what's up? Let's see. So you want to know. Trying to understand your question here, but should I have a link? Oh, I see what you're saying. So, should you have a Facebook link on your website? Yep, absolutely. You should have, in fact, you should have Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. Those are kind of the four biggies. If you don't have pages on those social media profiles, create them. I don't really care if you're actually active with them, but those links are really good backlinks, and Google takes notice of that. People probably won't click on them, but that's a good one for SEO purposes. Yes, so I would definitely do that. What about Pinterest? I don't know. Honestly, man, I don't know much about Pinterest, and I'm in the business. It can't hurt. I know that, but we don't typically do it. We typically stick with Facebook, Twitter. Oh, I'm sorry, Google Plus as well. You want that link on there as well. So Google Plus, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Those are the ones that I would go with. But I don't have any videos. Well, you got to create some, man. Go to, honestly, there's a great website. You can create your own. Let's see. I'll put it in the chat bar. It's Animoto, animoto.com. Check that out. I think they have a free trial, so you can actually go and create a video pretty easily, and they look really good. And they're dirt cheap, basically free. And then you can just upload that to YouTube, and then you got a video. But don't stop at YouTube. They got Vimeo. They got tons of different video sites out there that you can upload it to. So if I were you, I would upload those to as many as I can. As when you do that, it creates a backlink to your website. And backlinks from sites like that are really good. Let's see. Anything else, guys? I could just be talking to myself here, but I don't think I am. Some people are still in. To the guys that are still in, if you're still listening in, was this helpful? Do you think this kind of went as you expected it to when you signed up? Do you have any suggestions on maybe what we could do a little bit better? Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Lots of good comments. Really appreciate that. Sorry if I'm gonna butcher your name. Is it Karam? I see you joined late and you got your hand up. There's actually a chat box there if you have a question, if you want to, or a question box if you want to ask me something. I know you came in late, but I'd be more than happy to help you out where I can. Oh, no worries. No, I understand being late. No problem. I've recorded this, and I'll actually put it on my website as well. Or if you want to, if you, I think I probably have your email address, but if If you want to type your email address in there, I can send you a link to it as well. Okay, cool. So you get the recording. Yeah, it should be up there by noon tomorrow. Check it out. If you have questions on it, let me know, man. I'd be more than happy to help you out. But I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, guys. Again, really appreciate the webinar. This is one of our better ones with attendance and just kind of overall questions. So thanks. And if you want to reference this again, the recording will be on our website tomorrow. And yes, I did get your email address here, and I'll send you a link to that as well. Cool. Talk to you guys later. See you on the next one.